It was incredibly surreal that first day. I was standing in the office going, holy crap, I own a caravan park. Oh my gosh.
Meet the super vivacious Ali Cooper, the owner of the park in Jamestown. She is today's guest on the Voice It podcast. I'm your host, Annabelle Homer. If you're a new listener to Voice It, this podcast is all about showcasing people that have started a business from scratch and have transformed it into a success. In this case, Ali hasn't started from scratch, but probably feels like she has. She definitely has transformed the local caravan park in Jamestown into a boutique accommodation space for travellers. It's quite amazing that I got the chance to sit down with Ali because she always seems to be doing a million things at once and literally running from one job to the next. That has been her life since taking over the park during COVID. Mind you, it might have been her life even before that. Ali is also involved in the family farming business with husband Seth Cooper, has 3 children and is an extremely active community volunteer. Ali's vision was to provide a boutique accommodation space in Jamestown to encourage travellers to stay longer in the town, to support other businesses, to turn their regional town into a bustling space, a tourist destination. And she is achieving this, if the reviews are anything to go by. What a gem. Excellent caravan park, clean, comfortable and convenient. Outstanding comfort and welcome. Great weekend away, and the list of excellent accolades go on. If you're into vintage caravans, beautifully renovated cabins, impeccably kept green spaces, and a welcome grin that can rival no other, you need to book into the park. Over the next 30 minutes, you'll get to know all about Ali, how she ticks, and what she's done that has turned a tired regional caravan park into a tourist hub.
So life began for me in Quorn in the Flinders Ranges. Mum and Dad are farmers there. I'm the eldest of 3 children. And we lived a typical pre-digital technology childhood in the country. So school, bit of sport on weekends and farming. Like, we loved being on the farm. We played on the farm, was with Dad anytime he was going out on the farm. And I just had a very simple life. There was, we went to Adelaide maybe once a year. So the thought of going to Adelaide when I went to boarding school when I was 12 was super scary.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah, I mean, and you remember we had pay phones, so you had to use a phone card to be able to ring home or use
reverse the
HomeLink.
charges.
Yeah, HomeLink. And I remember thinking, getting quite anxious about this and thinking, okay, well, if I get lost in Adelaide, I just need to find someone and ask them, where is the brick road? Which sounds very much like, Wizard of Oz. But because I went to Walford, which is between Unley Road and King William Road, and King William Road is tight like a paved road. So I just remember thinking, if you get lost, ask someone where the paved road is and then you'll find your way back.
How would you describe yourself as a young kid? Were you the true blue country girl, wanted to be on the farm with Dad, that type of thing?
Yeah, look, I did. Mum and Dad, they were busy farming, but Dad also worked shift work in Port Augusta.
Doing what?
He worked at the powerhouse, so he was busy with that, but he would come home and then work flat out the whole time. So I think I got my work ethic from my father. He was always working. And then I got my resilience from my mum because she also worked in Port Augusta. She was the branch manager for one of the banks, but she was a city girl. So she met my dad, she went rouseabouting, met my dad who was a gun shearer at the time, and she then moved to this little farm, a rental farmhouse, because they didn't have enough farmhouses on the farm in Quorn, and there was no TV. The toilet was an outhouse out down the back with a bucket, so you'd have to go and empty that. She wanted to call her family, and when her mother died not long after they were married, so it would have been her dad or her aunts and uncles, anyone like that, she'd have to get on the party lines. Everyone in the valley would hear her conversation. So she was like, and Dad would be away shearing. So I remember her telling me that, thunderstorms were great because no one would be outside in a thunderstorm. She was pretty hardcore, very resilient to go from a very privileged life in the city to then on her own battling snakes in the house and stuff. So that's where I feel like I've got my resilience.
So how did she get into rouseabouting in the first place, considering she was a city girl?
A good friend of hers was a chef, or after they left school was becoming a chef, and she went out as a shearing cook. and she got my mum to go out with her to be a rouseabout. And then I think my mum kept doing it, met my dad, and then became a wool classer, and then they got married. And
wow.
So back to what I was like as a little girl, I was always going to be a farmer, wanted to be a farmer, but mum and dad were like, no, the farm isn't big enough to support you. But yeah, I was this scrawny little kid. I wasn't overly athletic. I wasn't overly, I wasn't the brightest kid in the class. Just a little stick of a thing. And
So what did you do when you finished school?
so I went to boarding school when I was 12, and I actually really enjoyed that, by the way. I think I found myself during this time as well. Like I thought, oh, actually, no, I'm not a little loser that runs around on the farm and play with her Barbies and play armies. And then
Little loser.
Yeah, I didn't think I was anything special. But, I ended up, a boarding house vice captain and A-grade volleyball captain, and I wanted to do agriculture, but, I wasn't really sure, and Mum did not want me to come home on the farm, so I thought I'll try economics, and I did a semester of that and thought, oh my goodness, this is so boring. I've actually worked out how I can fix all the cracks in all the ceilings of the lecture halls and things like this. And then and the strange thing is, when I did work experience, I did it at the Waite Institute with Adelaide Uni, and I met my husband then. He was studying and working at the Waite.
That's Seth Cooper.
Yeah,
yep.
And he was studying and working, and we had mutual contacts. So he knew my cousin, and he was from Jamestown, and then I ran into him first year uni, and he was so shocked that I was doing economics, and I said, yeah, but I hate it. And he said, well, that's easy. We should change you over to ag science. And next semester I started doing ag science subjects, because you can't enrol halfway through the year. And then the next year I enrolled into ag science and managed to complete a 4-year degree in 3 years.
Wow, okay. So obviously you'd found your niche. Going back to the work experience though, you said so you did work experience at the Waite. So was that before you did uni?
So when I was at school.
When you were at school?
Yeah, you did like a week work experience, and I think I wanted to do agronomy, but everyone was like, oh no, it's too hard. And then they put me onto Tony Rathjen, who was a wheat breeder, which my husband was working for, who my husband was working for, and yeah, there we go.
The rest is history. Right. So after you finished your degree, what was your first job?
So I was a farming systems consultant with Rural Solutions, and so that was my title, which was basically the old Department of Ag consultant, but in the new days, the Department of Ag isn't funded that way. You have to seek your own funding. So I was on a GRDC funded project, which was a low rainfall farming systems project, the Upper North Farming Systems.
So you were based in Jamestown at this point?
Based in Jamestown, and I was the coordinator of the project, and which ran from Peterborough, Orroroo, Morchard, Quorn, Peakner and Nelshaby.
Wow. And so how long did you do that for?
So I did that for 3 years, and then we had our first child, and that was when our farming business started, it had started to grow. So we'd moved from just our Jamestown property to Broken Hill, and then I had another child within 18 months, and then the business just started to grow more, because then by that stage we went down to the Coorong on the Narung Peninsula. Then we had a third child a bit later, and we were just too busy that there was no way I could go back to work and have, there'd be no one to look after the kids at the time. There was not a lot of childcare on offer in Jamestown, and Seth was away a lot. And then I myself started to become busy and more involved in the farm as well.
You have 3 kids now. You got more involved in the farm, and in what capacity? What were you doing?
What was I doing? Everything,
like
really.
The
it was
books,
no, not the books. More of the livestock side. So a lot of the livestock administration and taking over all the sort of like the trade accounts, utilities accounts, really handling all of that, because that becomes quite a big job when you get bigger. And then physical work. So shearings, we seem to be always shearing. So when shearing locally, I'd either be cooking and then in the yards. Up at the station, I'd be on the bike mustering and
so
things.
It's like with every business, as you get bigger, there's just more to do.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's what happened. How did you manage or balance the kids as well as a growing farming enterprise?
Well, I don't know. It might be just my brain, but you just make it work. So the kids come out with you. They're on the motorbike with you. They're then on their own little motorbikes. And, I mean, there was one time Seth was over in WA on our station there doing shearing, and then I was up at Broken Hill shearing. My brother-in-law was there, and I got sent out. I had to go take some sheep back to the paddock, but by the time I got to the sheep to the paddock, fortunately we've got a laneway system there, I'd shut the gate. I was having to use the lights on my motorbike, so the sun had just set. There was only a tiny little glow on the horizon left. And I got back to the quarters, and the bigger kids, they might have been 7 and 8, and they were sort of under control themselves. They'd be in the yards or in the shearing shed, and then they'd come back and they were just having dinner. And my youngest one, I remember, she would have been 3 or 4, and she was a bit scared of all the crowd because there's, a lot of people there for shearing. And one of the shearers was having a picnic dinner on the floor in the kitchen with her. So sweet. You just make it work, and everyone helps and supports. So.
Yeah, just immerse the kids they just worked
absolutely.
In with you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is great. When did you decide, okay, I need to do something for myself? The farm, yes, that's part of the family business. I think it's time for me to do something for me.
Well, it was in 2020, so that's when COVID hit Australia in March. And I think about in May, the local caravan park came up for sale. And prior to that, though, I had been saying to my husband for a couple of years, someone needs to get in there and tidy that show up. It's, the major, caravan parks are a major tourist attraction. They bring people into the community. Someone needs to get in there, tidy it up, and it will just boom. It'll boost our tourism here. And then, I'd say this often, and I'd say, they could do this and they could do this. And then one day I said, if that ever came in the market, I think I'd have a go. And then the circumstances changed one day, and I rang my husband and said, I think the caravan park's going to be up for sale. And he said, this is your chance. Go and have a go. And
so he was fully supportive.
100%. So I took on the park. So that was in May when it came up for sale, and I put my expression of interest in and my offer, and I took over in the August. And South Australia had just, had maybe relaxed the intrastate travel by 2 months maybe. So I came in and I had this caravan park with these cabins that were orange with green roofs. It was a little park and it looked tidy-ish, but there was just so much stuff that needed to do to make it like a destination that you wanted to go visit.
Because I've stayed in it prior to you transforming it, but I remember staying in it, I think it would have been mid-2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has definitely changed. Definitely changed.
This is the first time that you've ever owned a caravan park?
Yeah.
And run a business of this nature?
Absolutely. Yeah. There is no... I mean, I used to work in my university holidays in a sort of a tourism hotel in the far north.
Which one was that?
The Prairie Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yep. And with Jane and Ross Farger, beautiful people. But I'd probably only ever been to maybe 3 caravan parks before in my life, maybe a little bit more, but, 3 memorable ones prior to taking over. But I think, there might have been a moment in my life where I thought, I wonder if I could ever manage a caravan, manage a caravan park. Oh, no, I'm too young for that. When South Australia relaxed their intrastate travel in that July, the month before I took over, my family, so my parents, my sister's family, my husband and I, and our kids, we jumped in our caravans and we went to the Port Lincoln Caravan Park so that I could actually...
Do some research
and actually see what a caravan park looks like and how it operates and what you do and what's expected. And, yeah, we always sort of go like remote, off the grid kind of camping in our caravan, so... Yeah.
Okay, when you got handed the keys, you had this caravan park, you knew you had a lot of work to do. Was it a bit overwhelming at the start? Or were you just full of enthusiasm and you had ideas and thought, no, you went in there with full gusto?
It was incredibly surreal that first day. I was standing in the office going, holy crap, I own a caravan park. Oh my gosh. Okay, I knew what I wanted to do. I already had a plan mapped out that it was going to have a name, it was going to be rebranded. We were going to paint the outside of everything. Everything needed a overhaul inside, just get everything streamlined. So make sure that all the crockery and all the cutlery and all the glassware all matched, because that was the hardest thing was, you'd go into a cabin and you think, oh, there's only 2 glasses left in here. So then you go into another one and there'd be 6 in there and you'd think, none of these match. Which glass goes where? Like, it was just tricky. So changing the linen out, lots of gardening and chopping out trees that weren't so great. And I mean, the front office garden had 2 conifers and 2 pine trees that were overgrowing the whole of the front of the office, so you couldn't actually see the front doors and people would quite often miss it. So we pulled that out and painted the office, and I remember everyone going, oh my gosh, that looks amazing.
Just a little bit of a facelift.
Just a little facelift.
Made such
and
a huge difference. Well, me coming into the park now, and I had, as I mentioned earlier, I have stayed here before back in the mid-2000s, and it was probably getting on the tired side. It looks like you've just totally removed everything and started all over again, but you haven't done that at all. It's just you've just revamped all the existing buildings and they look so good, and it looks so modern and fresh, and there must have been a fair amount of investment you put into this place.
Oh, there has been, yes, definitely. Yeah, even just today, I had a guest arrive and say, oh, these look all so new. How new is this? And I said, no, this isn't new. These were built in the early 90s. They were quite shocked. So, yeah, a lot of investment. We were very lucky. Very lucky. I suppose I worked hard to actually win a tourism grant last year. So that's helped. Us build like the new camp kitchen, which is called the Hub, and landscaping, but mind you, that only covers a very small portion. So yes, there is a lot of investment that I've put into this place.
As you said, you had ideas of how you wanted to transform the park. Have you achieved all those, or have you still got a fair bit to go?
Yes, I have, but I never set out with a steadfast plan. My plans, I need a general idea, but things evolve as you move along. So, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm every tradie's best friend, because I'll have an idea and I'll say, this is what we're hoping to do, but flexible and willing to negotiate whatever you think is best, because, they're the experts. I'm just trying to get an overall generalised picture together for them to help me achieve
what you want to
done.
achieve.
Yeah.
Exactly. Isn't there a thing called decision fatigue? And you would have had to make a fair amount of decisions about this place.
Yes.
How did you get through that?
Oh, goodness. Last year was full on. So we basically had 12 months of major renovations happening here at the park. I just bought the Jamestown villas, so that added another 6 accommodation offerings to the business as well.
Is that part of this?
Yeah, that's part of this. So just managing additional work, meaning, managing more staff, more work, just generalised stuff. Then there was the whole project development. So you're talking a good, maybe a dozen trades on site, and they all want to achieve the best for you as well. But you've got to remember, okay, we're going to do a communal trench. Okay, if we're going to trench here, that we've got to make sure that we've got the plumbing and the water and the gas and irrigation and electrical for this. And yeah, it was a lot of decisions. And then they'd come on site, and I remember saying to the girls partway through this whole process, when the trades are here, you girls have to take over. I can't help in the office, because they're going to be asking me every 20 minutes, now where do you want this and where do you want that? So
I was going to say, did you have help with your decision making? Did you hire someone to help you with that, or did you just take it all on?
I took it all on, but then I've got a great brains trust. I've got good friends, local, who are businesswomen themselves, and I just ring them or send them a photo and go, what are your thoughts? Am I on the right track? And that, it was great. Like, just those people that could come in and go, yep, you're on the right track, or just tweak it here, or, yeah.
And you've got some retro caravans as well?
Yeah, so we've got one on site at the moment. We've got 2 more to come, hoping one will be here within a month. So that'll be like a little glamping experience down there. So each van is like, luxuriously, it's all been renovated to be luxurious on the inside, and then they've got their own luxury bathrooms on site, so it's not in the caravan, so you've got a bit more space and room. And people were saying, oh, you're going to put underfloor heating in there? And we didn't. We put air conditioning in there so that you can use it winter and summer.
Summer, yep.
Yeah, so they're very glam.
Wow,
yeah.
I want to stay there.
Yeah, so do I.
Do you get a real thrill over, something like that, like the vintage caravan idea, something that wasn't planned, it wasn't part of your overall vision, and it's come in and it's totally given a whole new perspective to the park? Does it excite you?
Oh, do you know what? It's like a roller coaster. Yes, I get excited, then I start freaking out going, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? And then I get excited again. And then I think, everyone worries when there's uncertainty. So the worries come when there's uncertainty and you're trying something new. And, I've learnt to become a risk taker, a calculated risk taker because of my husband. And we talk about higher education and what we've both decided is it doesn't really matter what you study as long as, you do something, because what it does is it helps you to think creatively. It helps you to seek information from reliable sources. It makes you become a better problem solver and a better risk taker, like a calculated risk taker. So, yeah, I did an ag science degree. I've done an advanced diploma of rural business management. But all of those together give you the ability to find information, critically analyse it, and take a calculated risk. So the worry comes because of the risk. It's only short-lived, and then you get, excited and, oh my God, it's going to be amazing.
Has there been some decisions you've made that haven't worked?
Gosh, I don't think so at this stage. Touch wood.
Ooh, that's a good outcome. What has been the biggest challenge for you since taking over?
Oh, I think my biggest challenge is working out how long things actually take. My biggest worry is not having staff. That always worries me. And that's that's relatable to every industry. But, I'll go, oh yeah, we've got this many cabins to clean. And then I'll go, I don't, I'll just get one staff member in. And fortunately I've got a brilliant team member who she is very, she can see this stuff. She's a very good organiser, and she'll go, I think we need to get an extra person in today. This day's really busy. The phone doesn't stop ringing this day. And remember, you've got the trade, and she remembers everything. So she's like my little organiser and calendar.
Yep, you PA.
Yeah, I definitely need one of those. I do.
Life organiser.
I do. I rely on my calendar, and in my calendar on a day I'll even write lists in my calendar as a calendar entry, just so I remember that I've got to do it.
Kids get involved?
Absolutely.
Are they cleaning rooms for you?
Yeah, they can, but they are so farm driven that if the opportunity comes to do farm work, they'll take that before they come here. Yeah, 100%.
So your free labour is not so free.
No, and I've just worked out that I need to actually pay them to really make them wanting to come and help me. Otherwise, I'll have to guilt them into it going, well, that's fine. I'm not cooking you tea.
What's the one thing that you're immensely proud of that you've done with this?
The boost of tourism in our town. So the feedback from all the business owners of what it's done for them, that is what makes me proud. Definitely occupancy rates are up from 70% to, this is in cabins, 70% to about 85%. I think caravan occupancy was probably around 5%. This is, 12 months, and we're now sitting at about 24 or 5%, which, doesn't sound huge, but, that's great for someone that's not a beach town or slap bang at the base of a mountain range, or we're kind of like that little gateway into the Flinders.
It's like a stopover point.
We're a stopover point, but it's, it's a really great place to base yourself for day trips for a few days. So, we're trying to change that. But, so our occupancy rates have definitely increased, which is great, because what that does is we're getting more bookings that are more than one night. So that means that, if they stay for more than one night, they're going to walk down the street and have a coffee, buy a paper, get a donut, go to the cafe, buy some shoes.
Since COVID, because as we all know, intrastate travel has peaked considerably across the entire state. How did you manage to transform the park and then also keep up with that, the occupancy levels? Because managing customers as well as trying to paint cabins and do things up at the same time, because you would have had caravans coming through at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, I always say to my staff, customers, our guests are our first priority. So obviously we've got to get in and clean so that we've got somewhere for them to stay the next night. But it's so important that when our guests arrive, or when we see them, that we offer that beautiful, friendly, smiling face that, is willing to do anything to help them. We ask, have you been here before? Do you need any tourist information? Do you need any help with anything? when you're out in the park walking around, it's saying hello. It's trying to remember. I always used to say, and I haven't reminded my team of this in recent time, but I used to say, before they leave the office, try to say their name 3 times so that when you're out in the park, you'll remember them. And so it's just having that little personal connection with as many of them as you can. It creates that really welcome feeling with your guests, and then they spread that word. So, and then they see you running around and working hard, and we always smile. Like I always smile because I just love what I'm doing.
And you're literally running.
Yeah, literally running.
You're literally running.
And they always say to me, slow down, you don't need to run. And I say, yes, I do. There's too much to do today. But it's just that, making sure that your guests are made to feel very welcome and that you're willing to do anything for them, and that, that they spin off that word of mouth to everyone else.
And how do guests find out about you? What channels did they eventually come to navigate to the park?
Yeah, so word of mouth, and then wiki camps for our caravan travellers. There's an app called Wiki Camps, and we seem to get a lot of people coming because of wiki camps.
So that's something that you subscribe to? Is that how that works?
No, anyone can download the app. I think it does cost $15 or something, or $11.
But for you to be on it?
No, anyone. I don't own the app, or I don't own my location. Anyone can go on there, anyone can edit the site, anyone can add information, and I regularly check that no one's gone in there and said, yeah, they accept, mega big rigs, because someone had put that on there, and that's because I'd stayed and it was quiet, and they said, yeah, they accept big vans. And then I had someone rock up and they go, you don't cater very well to big caravans. And I said, well, we're not very big, so we don't. We don't advertise it. And he goes, yes, you do. It's on Wiki Camps. And I said, I didn't put that on there.
Oh.
But it's... People leave reviews on WikiCamp, so they can either, rate the site, or they can leave a review, they can leave photos. And that's what a lot of them do, is they get on there and they say, such a friendly town, friendly caravan park, really clean, beautiful. The girls are working hard to make this place even better, and that makes people go, oh, we want to go there. We want to see what they're doing.
You're still adding to it, Ali. You're expanding across the road. What's happening there?
Yeah, so I bought the house. There's a house right across the road from the office, which we see when we look out the window, which is great. Jamestown's short on sort of family accommodation, so that was the aim, is to add another family house, a family cabin, I suppose, if you will. But it'll be more Airbnb style, a bit more high-end, but, able to cater to a bigger number of people.
So you're totally renovating that as well?
Totally renovating that as well. Yesterday, my husband had the telehandler in. He had it in for the local ag education day at the showgrounds. So him and another good friend came around, and there was this big conifer arch at the front of the gate, which is quite low. And for me, I don't like spiders, and the thought of walking under that freaked me out, with the thought of a spider falling out on my head. So they brought that in, the telehandler in, and just yanked that out. And off she went. We haven't started inside yet. That's happening soon. I've just got a few little things.
Are you hiring someone to renovate, or are you doing that?
Both, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'll paint it.
You've had heaps of practice, so I guess
you're... Oh, my goodness, I've had heaps of practice. So, yeah, no, my cousin, he's a builder. He's fantastic. And then all my local trades that I use as well. So
you've been such a good employer.
Oh, yeah.
Of local trades.
I am. I'm 100%. Obviously, my cousin, he's not local. He's from the Adelaide Hills, but, that's my loyalty. He's my cousin. But everyone else is local.
Where do you see the park in 10 years' time?
10 years' time, that's probably about the time when you have to start, your maintenance program again of, we'll have to repaint, or we'll have to do this. So in 10 years' time, I might be like, oh, my gosh, I've got to paint everything again. No, I think in 10 years' time, I'd like to think that it's basically to maintenance level then. We've achieved everything we needed to do. There'll be just little tweaks here and there just to improve that, and I don't know.
All the hard work would have been done, and it's just smooth sailing.
Perhaps I'm a sucker for punishment though, and perhaps I like hard work, and that's why I go and find more in case I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to get bored soon.
You're not going to end up doing a franchise of the parks around regional SA?
Goodness, no. No. I don't know if my brain has the capacity to take on anymore.
Have you ever been approached by the Big Four, Discovery, those major parks, to become a member and be affiliated with them in some way?
Yes, I have. Not, yeah, I actually have those and other ones, yeah.
And did you want to be, or what was your reaction to that?
At this stage, no. I'm doing okay for the moment. And sure, if someone came out and said, look, these are the Psalms and this is what it can do for you, that'd be great. But at this point in time, I like the fact that we're like a little boutique, affordable luxury caravan park, that we're different. I don't want to be the same as everyone else. I want to be different.
And advice for anyone that wants to go down this track, starting a business, a tourism venture like this, what would be a piece of advice you'd like to give?
Goodness.
Don't do it.
No, absolutely do it. But do something that you enjoy doing. I mean, owning your own business is hard work, regardless of what it is. My advice is to make sure you seek information prior. So talk to others in the industry, get their information, get their advice, and then enjoy what you do. Because if you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter how hard the work is or how long the days are. If you enjoy it, then you'll get the greatest benefit.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me, Ali. You are a very busy lady and you probably got a cabin to paint or a garden bed to attend to, but thank you so much.
I've got a towel rail to install today.
Oh, a towel rail to install. I better let you get cracking then.
Oh, thank you for talking to me too, Annabelle.
Well, that was a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Ali, for spending the time with me. If you enjoyed listening to Ali's story and you're now super curious to check out the park, head to the park's website. All the details are in my show notes. If you're new to Voice It, I am a voice coach. I run public speaking sessions for corporates, teenagers, individuals. I also do audio memoirs for families, podcasts for other organisations, and IMC events. If you're interested in any of those services, get in contact. Catch you next time for another episode of the Voice It podcast.